Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Today we are looking at part 3 of the 4 must-dos to begin your year right. And so the title is Walking Almost on Air. Walking Almost on Air. So just real quick, let me review where we've been, the 4 things. The first one was I asked you, what do you see? Stop. Don't go any further, reflect, and get clear on what it is you see. You can call that vision. But anyway, it's a question that I ask a lot of people. What do you see? What do you see for your life? What do you see for this year? What do you see for this week? This meeting you got coming up, what do you see? What does a win look like? And unfortunately, most of us don't take the time to clearly get in our mind what it is we see. And so what we see is nothing. We just kind of go through the motions. And so I don't want that for you. So the first one is, what do you see? And since I did the lesson, I ran into one of my quotes. It was Stephen K. Scott, and it's a book on the Proverbs. It's entitled The Richest Man Who Ever Lived. And it's a book about Solomon and the Proverbs, and it's a good book. And I added this quote in 2008, early in 2008. And this is how Mr. Scott defined a vision. He said, a vision is a precise, clearly defined goal with a detailed plan and timetable for achieving that goal. And so hey, that sounds good. I like that. And so I added it to my quote file. Well, today, I think you and I, we can agree on this with all due respect to Mr. Scott, and he's not Solomon, because he couldn't be more wrong. What happened in late 2008? His precise, clearly defined, and detailed goal and plan, it went down the toilet. We had one of the worst since the Great Depression, financial crisis, and many were worried that the entire world was going to have a meltdown. And so at best, what you see is often very general and very vague. And as you grow and as you mature, it gets clearer, and you spend more and more time. What is it that I see? And as you get better at it, then you do see more clearly, and you get better at doing life. And so, but at best, a lot of times what we see is kind of a general direction. Okay, this is what I see, and this is where I'm heading. And the main thing we need to be precise on is why I must go in that direction. And so that's about the best that you can do. There was a book that really helped me on this. It was one of a few life-transforming, life-changing books in my life, and it's really where I got the title for this lesson. It's a book by a gentleman by the name of Robert E. Quinn, Kuinn, and he wrote a book entitled Building the Bridge as You Walk on It. And honestly, that resonated with me. It just kind of put in words or in a statement kind of how I've been living my whole life. You just build a bridge as you walk on it. If you wait until you can see clearly what the next thing to do, or you have the resources, or you have the people, if you wait till the stars align themselves, you'll never get anywhere in life. One of my heroes in life, is a fellow by the name of Jimmy Jones. Jimmy is the CEO of Christ Central, which is a nonprofit benevolent ministry that is just incredible, that reaches really around the world now. And it all started, Jimmy is from Columbia, South Carolina, and he worked there, and he noticed a homeless population many years ago. And he said, I got to do something about it. And so he bought a bucket of chicken on a Sunday morning, got his Bible, turned a trash can upside down, laid his Bible on it, and it says, if you listen to what I've got to say, then I'll give you this chicken. and he just started. And today, it's incredible the ministry that man has. And that gives me hope. And that's kind of how any of us, you can do. If you see and just start heading in that direction. So anyway, now, so vision, you ask yourself, what do I see? And then the tendency is in what have I got to do to let's start getting goals. And you start setting goals. And nope, time out. Before you start setting goals, which is what I'm going to talk about today. But the last lesson, I encourage you, if you haven't listened to it, to go back and listen to it. It's a little longer than the first one. But that is, you begin to constantly build and maintain the systems needed to get where you want to go or where you must go. You begin to build systems. Where you need to go, you may, if it's a mule or a Mercedes, and you may be in a situation where the best you've got is a mule to get there. You can get there. But creating the systems, you don't want to every day, how much should I feed the mule? Where should I buy gas for the Mercedes? Does it need to be tuned today? What do I need to do? No, you create systems where automatically, as the systems begin to work, a healthy organization, a healthy organism operates with systems, good systems. The point is, if you do something more than once, then you need to create a good system for making that happen. And as you begin to create those systems and work and maintain those systems and perfect those systems, then you get more efficient and you get more effective in your travel. Right now, I'm doing this on January the 10th. And so 2024, obviously. And in the news right now, once again, is Boeing Airline. You're flying, you're somewhere in Alaska, Alaskan Airline buys one of their jets, and you're sitting in your seat, and all of a sudden, the panel, the wall blows away. There, and thank God you have your seatbelt on. Thank God your little child that's sitting beside you has their seatbelt on, or they'd have been sucked right out of the window and died. And the plane would have went. It's a miracle of God, the grace of God, that the plane didn't go down. You know what happened there? The system, something happened. The system broke down when they were building it. Somebody missed tightening a bolt enough with the maintenance people. The system broke down, and it almost cost them their lives. So systems are so important. Spend the rest of your life building, perfecting, and maintaining good systems. That's been my experience, that people that do not succeed, that do not achieve what they want to achieve in life, they didn't see it. It just never dawned on them that they could do that or that they should try. And then people that do have a vision for their life, the number one reason in my observation is that the reason why they don't succeed is because success is not simple. It takes a lot of organizations. It takes a lot of systems working together to make anything good happen. If it's simple, it's probably simplistic when it comes to success, when it comes to the big picture in life. And so what do I see? And then what systems do I need to get in place so that I can begin to head in that direction? And then what I want to talk just a minute with you about today, then you begin to set goals in order to get there. You got your systems humming. You know the direction you're going. And so now you're ready to start laying planks down one at a time as you begin to build the bridge to get there. You build the bridge as you walk on it. You don't build the bridge and then walk across it. No, you just build the bridge as you go. And so, and those planks are goals. Here's one of the most important statements of my life that I live and die by. And here's how you set goals. What do I need to do now to increase the odds of reaching my destination? What do I need to do right now to increase the odds that I'm going to get where I want to go or achieve what I'm trying to achieve? And I just get up every day and I do that. What is the one thing I can do today to increase the odds that what I want to achieve will happen? And for instance, my vision as the administrative bishop for Illinois Church of God is that I want the pastors to win. And what I mean by winning is to raise up healthy churches that are efficient and effective in fulfilling the Great Commission. In other words, raising disciples. And so that's why I'm doing this. This is the one thing I feel like that I can make a difference for those that I serve. that I'll speak into your life and encourage you to do what I'm asking you to do. If you'll do this, it'll work. I promise you. But the fact that I'm doing it, I had the goal on Wednesday. I planned my whole time, my whole week, so that I'd have time on this Wednesday to prepare this video. And so that's why I'm doing it. So what's the one thing you can do with what you see, where you're going? What's the one thing you can do today to increase the odds that it will happen? And I hope that this will increase the odds. That's my hope and prayer, that this will increase the odds that you pastors and whoever else listens to this, that you will win, that you will succeed in what it is that God's called you to do. And so I put a couple examples here on how this works in setting goals. Let's say your vision is to retire, okay, someday. And not that you're not going to do anything else, but you're talking about retirement. Well, I'm speaking from a male point of view, and you're married. All right, you know that retiring is not just about you, but it is about your spouse, and your spouse will probably outlive you. Women live longer than men. And so to retire, you want to be able to provide income until your wife dies. All right, that's what you see. It's not just about retirement, but I want to be able to provide for my wife until she dies, not until I die, but until she dies. And so let's say you crunch the figures, and I'm going to just throw a good number out there. It will take $1 million to create the income, to produce the income, to ensure that your wife, as she lives longer, as we live longer, medical costs are going to increase, and inflation and all the stuff. And so your vision, all right, is what you see is having $1 million in place so that your wife will be provided for. Now, the first thing you do is not setting a goal. Okay, I'm going to start cutting out Starbucks. I'm going to cut out my subscription to Netflix, and I'm going to put that money. I'm going to start saving, and I got to save. No, what you do is then you begin to develop systems that will begin to go into place so that automatically you can break that down, and when the time comes, the $1 million is there. Maybe you check with your HR department, and you find out how much they'll match, and you start putting the maximum amount if you can. You work up to the maximum amount and put money in your 403B or 401k, and it just starts coming out. Then you open up an IRA, and you just automatically do a bank draft, and you put that money in maybe an ETF of the S&P 500, and you just forget about it, and it just starts coming at you. Maybe you buy an insurance policy for $1 million just in case that you die before you retire. So you buy some term insurance to make sure she's going to be taken care of. And what you do is you develop systems to make that happen. And then you set weekly and monthly and annual goals of how much. All right, I've got the systems in place. I know where I want to go. I've got the systems in place. Now, what plank do I need to do to get there? And if you're a young pastor, all you may have is a bucket of chicken and a trash can and a Bible to start. And so you start with $5 a week or $50 a month, or on and on it goes. But what can I do to increase the odds that when it comes time for me to retire and when I die, my wife will be taken care of? And those planks will have to be added day by day, week by year, year by year, decade by decade, and it'll change. And so to have a clear, precise plan, you just got a general direction, but it'll get clearer as you go. Now, let's talk about church. I was trying to think, how did I apply this in church? Because by the grace of God, everywhere I went as a pastor, the church grew. They really, I say this giving God the praise, but they doubled or more everywhere I went. I didn't have a big master plan. I was clueless. That's why that book resonated with me. Quinn's book resonated with me so much. I just built the bridges I was going. Nobody told me what to do. I just started building the bridge. I just started going. I just started making things happen. And so I was looking at my last church, and my vision ended up being, I want to make disciples. I don't want to just grow a church, grow the number. I want to make disciples. That's what God intended. That's the instructions that Jesus gave. And here's a question that I had to start thinking about in my life as a pastor so many times. What do I need to do to help the church grow? What do I need to do to raise the budget? What do I need to do to get the number up? What do I need to do to solve this problem, to get a new roof, to buy a new air conditioner, or buy a new bus, or get the pews redone, or lay new carpet, or make the mortgage payment, make my own salary. I like to eat too, And so, but when my vision became that I want to raise up disciples that are healthy Christians, that are being salt and light in the community, I began to ask this question: what do I see for my people? How can my people, their life get better? How, by them coming under my care as their pastor, what can I do to make their life better? And when I change that, when I begin to see different, I'm for my people. I'm not for church growth. I'm not for making my church better. I am for my people. I am for my community. It changed everything. And so when I got that vision, then I began to develop systems. All right. I began to see, I want my people's life. I want people to say, if you go over there under David Kemp, you're going to be a better person. You're going to be a better businessman. You're going to be a better parent. You're going to be a better whatever. Your life will be better. And in the meantime, what the ultimate goal is, they're going to be better Christians that are fulfilling the Great Commission. And so I began to develop systems. There was a lot of, we got our new youth director in the office this week, and I took full advantage of these. There's a large church, sometimes large churches think, I don't need state headquarters. We can do this on our own. No, I want to be a part of something that's bigger than myself. I want to be a team player. And so youth camp, junior, and teen talent were big systems that we leveraged in our church to help create disciples. Tremendous things happened there. It wasn't about, this year we had 20 go to camp. Next year we need to have 50 go to camp. No. What do we need to do to help our young people? And so we need to get them to youth camp. We need to get them involved in junior and teen talent. That was Sunday school was a big system for me. Why would I destroy Sunday school that's helping me to disciple, who's giving other people a chance to teach and to be a part? Youth and children's events, missions given, missions trips. As much as I'm committed to missions and missions trips, it wasn't about reaching a number. It wasn't about being number one in the state paper. And I wanted my church to look good. Those kind of things. It's nice. That's just extra. But the reason why I gave to missions, and especially the reason why I encourage missions trips, is because that was discipling. That was a system, just one of the systems, the complex systems that is, everybody doesn't get involved in everything, but all these systems working together, I am producing disciples. You get a bunch of people, some third world country, and suddenly they begin to see, they come back changed. They are better disciples, more committed Christians. I'll give you one example, though. And again, it's just what I had there. But when I got to Fort Mill, my last church, when I got there, historically, traditionally, they had always had a choir. They took pride in their choir. I had a sharp minister of music there that was basically just kind of a minor player, though, in the big scheme of things. So I got there, I've got a choir. Okay, I can see where this will make a great discipling tool. I celebrated, instead of having 4 or 5, maybe all-star people up on the platform, why wouldn't I want to have 20, 30, 40, eventually 100 people up in that platform? And I've got a ministry of music that's poured into them, and we're discipling them, and we're helping them to grow, and they're making a part of the service, and they're going to Sunday school in between services, and on and on and on it just went. So I took that choir, and I said, I'm going to make them I'm going to make them the flagship of our Sunday worship team. I began to pour into them. So how can I help them to grow? Well, I created a system. We're going to start having a big event. We're going to have a big Christmas and a big Easter. And so that system, I had to begin to develop systems that man, we got to get involved. We got to be there. This is a big event. We're going to send out invitations, and I'm going to start inviting my friends. And they started disciplining themselves. The choir began to grow. The system began to hum. All right. And so, well, then, wait a minute. If I'm going to do that, then we're going to have to start raising up teams. And so we included worship arts, fine arts. And so we started using teen talent to practice, to groom ourselves so that they can be a part of the big events. Then we had to build a prop team, men and women that were good at building props and making costumes. And so that started another team. Then we started getting all these people here. They started inviting them. And so we had to build up a visitor relationship team. And under that, I had to come up with parking lot attendants. I had to come up with people that would manage the Facebook and then to do the team, to pull off the event. Then we had to beef up our I call them Scotties, Star Wars or Star Trek, the engineer. We had to have the camera people and the sound people. And I'm just looking here, and so then we get the visitors in. Then we started a system of introduction to Fort Mill visitors class, a 3-week class where we introduced them to Fort Mill Church of God, our vision, our pastoral staff, and we had this little routine. And then we get people, a lot of people we get saved. And so we started a water baptism 4 times a year. Every once a quarter, we have a big deal where we baptize people. And so I had to have a system in place to make that happen. Then new members came out of that. And on it goes. All those, because I started with something. And then I began to create systems to increase the odds that it would win. And all the time, it was what I saw, is that I want my people to grow in their faith and use their gifts and their talents and their abilities to become soul winners. And so that's just an example. That one little decision that I'm going to make the choir my flagship ministry for Sunday morning worship. And it changed the whole dynamic and shape of our church. I didn't have a big master plan, but at the end, thousands of people would come through Fort Mill Church of God to see those big events. And in between, all the stuff that they learned and the team building, it got so many people involved, got them into the church, got them into other systems, and it just began to feed on itself. And so what do you see? Create the systems that are needed to get it started, and then one plank at a time. Call that a goal, one plank at a time. Because what do I need to do today to increase the odds that this can move forward? I mentioned Jimmy Jones. This is a great quote from him that's in my quote file. Came up just the other day. Jimmy Jones, I heard him once say, pray beyond where you are. Don't use your prayer time as a time to tell God what he already knows. God, I've got these problems and this and this. No, pray beyond where you are, he said. What do you see? And so the 2 most important questions that you can be asking right now is, what do I see? And what is the one thing I can do right now to increase the odds that I get there? Vision, systems, goals. What do I see? What's the one thing I can do to increase the odds that I get there? It's probably going to first start with building the systems to get it to happen. But I don't know what it is. You're walking on a bridge and you're building it as you go. So there you go. It's scary, but it's exciting. Remember I mentioned 2008? We had, because the church was growing and discipleship was huge for me, we decided to invest in our next building project, not refurbishing the sanctuary and making it better. No, we began to make plans to build a center for discipleship. And so by the fall of 2008, when all this stuff was beginning to unravel, we were ready to close the deal. With the bank, we had financing, and it was all scary. And I'll never forget going down to the altar. I had a place where I went to pray. This was a multi-million-dollar project, way over my head. I know nothing about building. I didn't know. I didn't have no clear, concise plan. I just knew it needed to be done. I could see that much. And I took those plans and I took the budget. I went and laid it down on the altar and said, God, I don't know what to do here, but this needs to be done. This is right. What should I do? And I felt the peace of God. I'm with you. I got you. You do. The next thing that needs to be done is you need to get financing. You've got the approval. The congregation's gone for it. And headquarters, we're ready to go. And so I walked out of there and I did the next thing that needed to be done to increase the odds that it could happen. I called the bank. And that building is there today. And we started a building program, went into a multi-million-dollar debt and program when the world was coming undone in 2008 and 2009. And we finished it in 2009. And somehow we did it. And the church rolls on. You can do that. You may be riding a mule. You may be riding in a Mercedes, or most likely somewhere in between. Start where you're at. What do you see? And say, what's the one thing I can do today to increase the odds that what I see can happen? God bless you. Keep running to win. We'll see you around the bend.